When I was in grade 7, my family had just moved from Germany to the US, and all that my brother and I were told was that one day we were coming home from the gymnasium, we'd see our mother, she'd smile, she'd have snacks for us, and then we would go out and play. And afterwards, well, we'd come home after school. It wasn't called a gymnasium anymore, but our mother would smile at us, she would give us snacks, and then my brother Klaus and I would go out to play. So it seemed to us that the move had gone just fine. We were settling in, and we did all that we could to fit in with the new school. At our school, there was one big important thing that everyone had to do. It was the school science fair. All the students, all that they talked about in the hallways was, what am I going to do with this project? This is the prize I won. This is what my brother did. And Klaus and I, we were confused. We didn't know what science fairs were. We had never done one of those before. And we did our best to fit in, as we always did. So one day we just decided, hey, let's sign up with this. Let's just see what happens. Maybe we could figure something out. So at first, it supposedly went fine. We just have to show up at this one meeting room. There was a nice teacher up front. She'd greet all the students and she'd quickly check in. She'd say, hello, everyone, it's great to see your project. I love that idea. And she seemed very friendly. So Klaus and I thought, hey, this is pretty easy. All we have to do is just show up to these meetings and then we can always go home after school, just like every day. Mother will make snacks for us and then we can go out to play. We were pretty relaxed about the whole thing. That is, until that one Friday. So one Friday, we showed up at the meeting, and this time something was different. This time, the teacher, who was usually so nice, she was standing up front and she had all of these dates written down on the blackboard, and she had this ring of students around her. All the students had these big cardboard folding signs, and they had science words and images. They had posters and little shiny experiments. And Klaus and I, we thought, what is going on? What is happening? We don't know what this is. And so we did what we usually did. We sneaked up to the crowd, we joined the ring, and we started to listen. The teacher, she was up front, she was saying, all right, everyone, I know you have worked all so hard to get these projects to life. It's going to be great, I promise you. When it comes to Monday, we're all going to make sure to represent our school phenomenally. Don't worry. And Klaus and I, we were worried. We heard her say Monday. What Monday? It was Friday. What? What was she talking about? And suddenly we saw the date written on the blackboard. The coming Monday, in 3 days' time. We were supposed to have the entire science fair ready. All this time, we were supposed to have been working and getting our experiments ready. We didn't even know that we had to have this. And Klaus and I, we were panicked. We didn't go home carefree. We ran home. We were panicked. We ran about in the backyard in circles. We thought, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And it was just an absolute mess. While Klaus and I were freaking out, our mother came in concerned from the backyard. She looked at us, she said, Klaus, Max, what are you doing? And she had this tray that she was holding out. Just like every day, our mother did what she always expected. She had made us snacks, she made us pretzels, and she brought them out for us. Klaus and I, we stopped running and we looked at our mother and we were intrigued because while she saw commotion, we saw pretzels. So what Klaus and I did that weekend, we got together, we started rummaging through our kitchen and we started whipping up these concoctions. We had to get our experiment ready. We had 3 days. We started experimenting, mixing in this ingredient, that ingredient. We threw the pretzels onto the tray. We put them in the pan. We experimented with the heat. We took all of their observations. We had to get everything ready. And come Monday, after all of our work, we didn't get to play much, but we finally had our experiment done. We had figured out how to make the perfect pretzel, and we walked in to the science fair. It was being held in the gymnasium, and there were these huge long rows of shiny tables. People had their trifolds up. They had these robots. They had these chemicals. They had all of these different images and posters. And up on top, there were glaring lights, lighting up everything. And we were just scared. We'd never seen such a brilliant environment. And here Klaus and I, we just come with a tray of pretzels, and so we went to one corner of the gym, and we sat down, and we set up our tripod, and eventually, amidst all of our worrying, an old man had come up, and he stopped in front of our tripod. He had on these suspenders, and he had glasses with round frames. He had these wrinkles around his mouth from smiling, and he looked at the two of us and he said, "Well, hello, young man. I'm happy to see your experiment today, and it looks like it's going to be something tasty. And I just wanted to tell you that today I'm going to be your judge, and I just need to listen to you as you give me the quick 5-minute overview of your presentation, and then afterwards, you can probably take a break and relax until we get to the next round." And Klaus and I, well, we'd never practiced any presentation. We'd talked about this before we came, but it took us 15 minutes to try and explain our stories. What were we going to say? That we just saw our mother making pretzels and this is how we decided to make this whole science fair? We had no idea what to do. So Klaus and I, we looked at each other and we thought, we need to trick this guy somehow. And we started to come up with a plan. So I, being the older one, I went up to the person and I did my best to smile and sound calm, even though I was freaking out inside. I said, "Hello, sir. I'm Max. It's nice to meet you. And Klaus and I, my brother, we're looking forward to tell you our presentation. How long did you say we had?" And the judge, he looked at me and he said, "Well, young man, you have 5 minutes. We sent this out in the announcements, don't you know?" And I looked at the judge and I said, "Sir, 5 minutes? I'm I'm sorry, but my brother won't be able to do that. My brother Klaus, he worked so hard on this. He spent so much time, and this is just really reflective of all the things that my brother and I are passionate about. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm going to be able to convince him to be able to do 5 minutes. He's going to be angry, and and he's not very controllable when he's angry." And the judge, he looked at me and his eyes grew wide, and he was surprised. He said, "Well, I'm sorry, young man, you're going to have to convince your brother. There's nothing I can do. It's in the rules." And so I slowly backed away from him and I turned to Klaus. And now Klaus, he was doing his part. So he looked at me and he was very aggressive. He was standing there with his arms crossed. He was waiting for me. He tried to pretend that he didn't hear what we just said with the judge, and he was scowling. And so I turned to him conspiratorially and I said, "Klaus, 5 Minuten." And and he looked at me and he said, "5 Minuten? Weißt du, wie sehr ich Brezel mag? 5 Minuten?" And I turned to him and I started getting aggressive too. I said, "Ich liebe Brezeln, Brezeln." And all the meanwhile, while we're arguing, the judge is just looking at us and he's shocked. He doesn't know what to do. And finally, Klaus and I break off, and I go back and I go approach the judge again. I said, I'm I'm sorry, sir. I did what I could. I did my best, but my brother, he's just so passionate about this. He spent so much time. I don't know what I can do here. He he said he'll cut out all of his content about how he stayed up at night and monitored the Pretzels while they were cooking, but I'm sorry, he can't go any lower than 12 minutes. And the judge, he was confused. He didn't know what to do with us, but slowly he just looked at me and he said, "Well, we'd better get started. I've got to go on to others." And that was how Klaus and I got through our first our first science fair. After the 12 minutes, we made things up, we went back and forth, we looked at each other, we didn't entirely know what was going on, and I'm sure it wasn't the best speech, but we filled up those 12 minutes, and then we went home, and we did what we always did. We got home, we were playful, we were happy, we didn't have anything to worry about, and afterwards, Mother greeted us with some warm Pretzels.